All right, number 1. Do you see a pattern where you can just solve it? No. So what am I going to do? What's 6 times x? And what's 8 times 15? Okay, what is the 6 called right here?
Coefficient.
The coefficient. Good. How do I get rid of the coefficient? Dividing by 6. And so x equals 20. Okay, look at the second example. Do I need to cross multiply or do you see a pattern? I see a pattern. How did I get from 24 going backwards to 4? Dividing by 6. And so 30 divided by 6 is, so I didn't even need to set that one up. So on your assignment, if there's one that has the pattern, I don't expect you to show your work on that one because you should be able to visually see it. Okay, the next one. What am I going to do? Cross multiply. So I'm going to start with this one. 4 times x is. And then how am I going to write this one since there's parentheses? Good. What should I do with the subtraction sign in the parentheses? Keep, change, change. Okay, what was the first thing I told you guys in equations you have to deal with? Parentheses, distributive property. So here we go. 4x equals, am I just doing 3 times x? What am I doing? 3 times x plus 3 times negative 1. So I have 3x plus negative 3. Okay, what would my next job be? Get all the variables to one side, and then I heard you say we're going to subtract 3x, which is correct. What's 4x minus 3x? Correct. So can I write 1x? Can I just write x? Yes. So I have x equals negative 3. Okay, for the next one, I want you guys to try it on your own. Check your first 2 steps with mine. And does it matter if you put the left on the right and the right on the left? No. Just make sure you set it up correctly. Check it with mine when you're finished. How did we do? Good? Everybody got negative 6? All right, let's do the next one. So 4 times m is 4m. And then I have 5 times m minus 6. What do I need to do in the parentheses before I distribute? Keep, change, change. Now, when I bring the 5m to the left, what am I left with? Over here. Negative 1m. So do I have m by itself? Really? If the variable is negative, it is not by itself. So in that case, it's best to write the coefficient of -1. You could just put -m, but you can actually see, okay, I'm going to divide by -1, and my answer is going to be positive 30. That's fine. Did you get the same answer, though? Okay. Are we good? Let's skip this one, just because it's just like the others, and let's go to the bottom two. So what's different about these two? There's going to be parentheses on both sides of the equal sign. So I'm going to do 7 times m plus 1 equals 4 times 3m plus 6. Again, please make sure when you're distributing that you distribute to the entire parentheses. So 7m plus, is it just 7m plus 1? 7m plus 7. You have to multiply the 7 times everything in parentheses. Okay, 4 times 3m is 12m plus, and 4 times 6 is 24. Okay, my next step is to get all the m's to one side. So how am I going to move 12m? Minus 12m. And 7 minus 12m is negative 5m plus 7 equals 24. How am I going to get rid of the constant? Subtract 7. So negative 5m equals, what's 24 minus 7?
17.
Is it? And divide by negative 5. What's a positive divided by a negative? Okay, could I leave my answer as negative 17 over 5?
Yes.
Could I do a mixed fraction? How many times can 5 go into 17?
3 times.
So I'm negative 3 with how many left over? And 2/5. Could I change it to a decimal? Yes, so just stick that in your calculator, and you get negative 3.4. So any of those answers would be great. The only time all of those answers would not be great is if it specifies how to put your answer. So for example, on last night's homework, did y'all see it said round your answer to the nearest hundredth? So obviously, which one of these answers would I pick? The decimal, because if we're talking about rounding to the hundredths, we're obviously talking about decimal places. Okay, move on to this last one on the front. I wanted to talk to you guys about and remind you how to put it in your calculator. And I want to mention something because somebody came up to me before class and was having issues. So when you go to put this in your calculator and you hit y equals, at the very top of your screen, do y'all see where it says plot 1, 2, 3? If you accidentally hit one of those and turn it on and it turns black, your calculator will no longer solve equations. So those plots cannot be highlighted black. So if you ever see that, just go unhighlight them by hovering over them and hitting enter. Does that make sense? So that's just kind of like an error that it will mess it up. All right, so let's go practice putting this in our calculator. Somebody remind me how I'm going to do it. Alpha y equals option 1. Everybody should be putting it in their calculator right now. 4 goes on top. What would I put on the bottom right here? X minus 3.9. Okay, then the next one, alpha y equals option 1, 2 over x plus 1. Now what? Second trace, option 5. enter, enter, enter. What did it just do? Maybe we have to put the things in parentheses.
I put my parentheses in there.
Well, let's go check it out. So 4 on top, parentheses, x minus 3.9. What did I just hit? Two over x plus 1. It's because when it's graphing it wrong. I didn't even get to see the error code. No sign change. I did put in a sign change. 4 over. Okay, so I guess if it's doing that, then you'll have to distribute first. So let's go distribute and then put it in our calculator. So I would do 4 open parentheses b plus 1, and then 2 open parentheses b minus 3.9. So if you try it that way, let's see if that would do it. I don't know why my calculator. So, but I mean, I'm just teaching you because on the EOC, you can't say, hey, my calculator's giving me an error. So you kind of have to figure out from there what to do. So my next step would just be to distribute like this. I wouldn't even go distribute it all. I would just go put it in like this. So x plus 1, and then 2 open parentheses, x minus 3.9. That looks much better. And there's my answer. So just to kind of go through, if it's not working, do the next step and then put it in. Okay? So the answer is x equals negative 5.9. Would you go solve it by hand to make sure? Yes. Yes, I would. You can't use photomath on the SAR EOC. Turn to the back. Okay, let's work on setting up our word problems. Remember that when you're setting up a word problem, anytime you get confused, if you need to draw a picture, if you need to write out what you're comparing, have some type of strategy going. So basically, Georgia's making her own potting soil. For every 4 buckets of peat moss, she uses 3 buckets of perlite. What did they just give me? A ratio, and what are they comparing? Peat moss, so I wrote peat moss to what? Come on. Perlite.
What?
All right, so what number am I going to put for peat moss? 4. And what number for perlite? 3. If she uses 10 buckets of peat moss, well, where am I going to put 10? Next to what? Right here. Then this would be my missing number. I would cross multiply, so 4 times x is 4x, and 3 times 10 is 30, and then divide by 4, and you would get, that's not my answer. Thank you. Buckets of what? Of perlite. 7.5 buckets perlite. Okay, you're going to set up the next one on your own. Quickly. Okay, you're comparing centimeters to kilometers. And where did you put the 4.2? With the centimeters. Cross multiply. Well, what's 1 times x?
X.
All right, so just x. And 85 times 4.2 is 357. Is that my answer, though? No, 357 kilometers.
I didn't know it said 4.2. I didn't even see. I thought it said 42.
All right, set up the next one. What are you comparing in this one? They're both weights. Weight of food and body weight. Or, yeah, same thing. So weight of food. So I put pounds of food and pounds of body weight. So for 8 pounds of food, for every 100 pounds of body weight. And how much does the seal weigh? So that goes for body weight, and your x goes for food. So 100x equals 2,240. Divide by 100, and you get 22.4 pounds of food. Y'all should be getting really good at these. Easiest problems ever. All right, the last one. This one's really easy. It says if triangle JKL, that's this triangle, and this line right here means is similar. If triangle JKL is similar to triangle QRS, basically that similar means proportional. It says find QR. So here's QR, so what am I going to call this? Who can tell me what I need to do? I need to make a box or a proportional ratios. Are there more than one way to do this? Yes. So I could set up, and the way that I teach this to my regular class is I use highlighters. And I say JK is proportional to what side over here? To QR. And KL is proportional to? Okay, now the way that you can set this up is you can do pink is to pink as blue is to blue. This is one way, and if y'all don't want to write all this, you don't have to. I'm just showing you. This is one way you could set up your proportion. You could also do this pink to this blue, yes, as this pink is to this blue. So do y'all see that there's more than one way to set up proportional ratios? Yes or no? I usually do pink to pink, blue to blue. That's the way I usually do it. So I would do 18 goes with X as 8 goes with 12. Now, how do I know that's set up correctly? Because 18 is coming from the small triangle, so this is the small, and X is coming from the big triangle. If this is set up correctly, then the 8 has to be coming from the small triangle and 12 from the big. See how I have both smalls on top, both bigs on bottom? Okay, so I cross multiply. I get 8 times X equals 18 times 12 is 216. And divide by 8. 27, and that's it? 27 centimeters. Okay. So I'll pass out your assignment and we'll get started.